And over in Italy, Roma continued their push for a Champions League spot against Fiorentina. All that and plenty more on the other side of this short break in Scoreline.
At the start of every year, I find myself wondering again, constantly questioning life's mysteries. Could I make it in the UFC octagon?
When Jeff Probst asks survivors, ready?
Do they ever want to say no? Has Dexter ever considered meditation? Will Beth and Rip make it last on the new series Dutton Ranch? If not, Rip, call me. Stream new series and returning favorites, plus huge events. It's going to be the biggest year yet.
Welcome to the Running Man. The rules are simple. Survive 30 days, but the entire nation is hunting you down.
The grand prize, $1 billion!
Win this game. Change your family's life forever.
Hunt him down!
People will sell you out in a heartbeat.
What is happening?
Welcome to the Running Man.
I'm back. I'm really back.
Why am I here? I'm not dead, right?
Disruption on this campus will not be tolerated.
If I look crazy, it's because that's how I feel. I don't know how to live in two worlds.
There are others. But they're not like us. We need to get out of here. Now. Open your eyes.
Paramount Plus has a mountain of movies. Wow. New movies. Timeless movies. Guys who are running out of time movies. So get in on the latest blockbusters.
Trust me.
And relive the moments that get you every time.
And that's all I have to say about that.
A mountain of movies, now streaming on Paramount Plus.
This is European soccer's biggest stage.
Written in the stars! What a difference she has made!
The question is, can you handle it?
Can you handle it?
The crowd here feels electric. Stream every match of the UEFA Women's Champions League on Paramount Plus.
I lost my dad and my aunt.
What aren't you telling me?
I'll never know what you've gone through, but I'm sure your dad will want you to be happy.
I will not lose the company that my husband started. I want success. Get it for me.
This business will bleed you dry.
Dad, I'm playing on the house's money now.
No, you're playing with the devil's money. What's the plan here?
Gonna blow!
Yeah, well, I'm just getting started.
Landman. All episodes now streaming only on Paramount Plus.
Welcome along to Scoreline. Adam Hunt, JD Dyer here in the Golazo Network studio. JD, you've always got a big smile on your face, but today
of all
just
days,
a slightly bit bigger.
You want to know why?
Why?
Because Cinco de Mayo tomorrow, that's why.
Let's get straight to the highlights. Let's find out why JD's smiling, shall we?
I just
we
love the
start
game.
with the Premier League. All eyes on the Hill Dickinson Stadium. Everton against Manchester City. Pep's men needing a win to keep the pressure on Arsenal in the title race. A cagey first half, JD, but eventually City took the lead.
A little bit of magic from Jeremy Doku. Nice little shift halfway across his body, and he tells everybody just to relax, take a deep breath. More important, be silent, because the greatness has arrived. Jeremy Doku could do that at any point in his life. Here's a moment of controversy, though, Adam. I wasn't sure. At first, I thought, oh, red card. The optics looked bad, everything looked bad, but what did you think upon response?
I think Everton's attitude after he'd scored the goal, this was about a minute later, was the only way to stop him is to just take him out. VAR did look at it. Final decision was a yellow card, not a red card. Into the second half, 1-0 to Manchester City, but it's Everton on the attack.
Ilian Ndiaye, I'm telling you now, ladies and gentlemen, study his story because he is incredible from top to bottom. Determination to get to this save. Good save from Donnarumma at that moment. Ndiaye would probably want that one back. But doesn't necessarily mean that Everton were down and out because, you know, there's a TT that played for Arsenal one time. There's also a TT that now plays for Everton. And TT Barry reminds the world as to why Everton paid all that money and decided they wanted to make him one of their star strikers going forward. A moment to forget for Mark Guehi, but one that Mike Oliver will enjoy.
You have to say it was a terrible mistake from Gay to give the ball to Barry, who found the back of the net, and that got Everton's tails up. They got another goal to take the lead.
Oh, you don't need to give the Evertonians any sign of encouragement because when they tap in, they really do. Jake O'Brien at the near post. Great little ball from Jimmy Garner. First goal in all competitions, third of the EPL career so far.
It was turning into a nightmare at the Hill Dickinson for Pep Guardiola. Everton went 3-1 up.
Yeah, at this point, I think Evertonians were in dreamland. Not only have they done the impossible, not only in terms of their connection to Man City, had they potentially stopped their title chase, but then they were doing this, sending them home early with 10 minutes to go. But those fans then will be regretting these moments.
Count Manchester City out at your peril. Erling Haaland with a lovely finish to
All
make
I'm going
it
to say
3-2.
is, triple captain this week, thank you for turning up. I appreciate you in the fantasy league. In terms of just the dominance, going in between the gaps of the defenders, we already know what's going to happen when he's through on goal.
That's why you're smiling.
I was smiling.
Because of your fantasy league
My fantasy team. And
There
then
was
this
more.
happened. The moment of magic. I spoke about it before. Donnarumma, that's Donnarumma in the box. Awful touch from Mark Gay. He pushes it out, but look at it now. It looks like an assist because nobody from Everton closes it down. And when you give a player like Jeremy Doku with his quality this much time to find the corner, believe he will find the top corner. Silence the crowd once again. Yes, you do, Jeremy.
A wonderful strike from Jeremy Doku, a wonderful performance from him, but ultimately not the result that Manchester City needed and wanted in the title race. So the gap is now 5 points to Arsenal. They still have that game in hand, but are unable to put as much pressure as they would have hoped on the Gunners. Let's have a quick look at the games remaining for the two teams. Arsenal, they've obviously got that game next up against Atletico Madrid, the eagerly awaited Champions League semi-final second leg at the Emirates in midweek. They've got West Ham, Burnley and Crystal Palace, the three games in the Premier League after that. Manchester City have got Brentford, Crystal Palace, Bournemouth and Villa to come in the Premier League. They've also got that FA Cup final against Chelsea in the middle of it. And JD, I think it's fair. We have criticised Arsenal, haven't we, openly in the last few weeks about feeling the pressure in the title race. And even though they got back and they drew the game and it did look like they were going to lose it, we have to be critical of Manchester City. They crumbled under the pressure there, didn't they?
They crumbled under the pressure. They didn't understand the assignment. And more importantly, they were very lucky to win this or to actually get anything from this game because I was screaming at the screen while we were sitting here enjoying this. They should blow the whistle like too short because at this moment, they were deep into stoppage time, a minute and a half later. And no matter what, Pep Guardiola might have given that fist pump, but he knows a massive moment of momentum has now swung towards Arsenal. Think about it this way, Adam. When I look at those fixtures, yes, I see Crystal Palace, yes, I see West Ham, and yes, I see Burnley squeezed in between. But what I also see is Arsenal not leaving London. That also could make a massive difference in terms of the travel, the requirements at this stage, and the exhaustion, just the recovery. You're balancing two competitions. You have 5 games potentially now to close out your season. And now you've been given the extra edge of knowing that if you win or achieve all of those achievements, you are going to be creating a moment in history that will never be rivaled again for this club.
We'll talk more about the implications in the title race in a second, but let's focus on the game to start with.
Of course.
It was a cagey first half, as we said. Manchester City just weren't able to really assert themselves in it until maybe at the end when they came back into it and got the draw.
It was a game of two halves, and I'm so glad that we're bringing the momentum chart up because even though it shows that little spell of maybe, 10 minutes where Everton were just entering the game, that first 25 to 30 minutes was complete and utter dominance by Man City. Everton sat deep, they were containing, they were very rigid and hard to break down on a low block, but at the same time, Man City really was showing their elements of brilliance. You see where the goal came, and it really did sort of change the trajectory of the game. Everybody sort of took a deep breath and relaxed, and we thought at that moment, it was just going to be typical poetry in motion. Like, Man City are now going to go on and it's 1, it's 2, it's 3, it's 4. But I really have been speaking about this a lot throughout this season. This is not the Man City of old. This isn't the team that was the Centurions. It might have the same leadership, but it's not the same quality. And they do go through spells where they lapse concentration. And that's exactly what that was for Mark Gahey today. And that's not a meaning to associate him with that because he's actually been really good. But I've seen it throughout the season. They have moments where they're in control, and yet again, they lose control in the second half of games because they're not focused, they're not concentrated, or they're complacent. And any one of the three could cost you in the title
Who's
chase.
to blame here? Who didn't show up today? I think there was only one change. Aït-Nouri was in the side for the last game. He moved out. Gonzalez into the team. Who are you pointing at that didn't show up for Pep today?
I think there's a number of players that will probably look in that change room and say they didn't turn up. I think the whole back four have looked great in spells this year, especially while they've been on this momentum in 2026. That was the back four that more ended 2025. The nervousness, the mistakes, the riddle, the high line that seemed a bit disjointed at moments. Everton weren't really supposed to cause problems in terms of Man City in their final third, in terms of Everton's final third. I just didn't see the element of control in the second half of a game that's usually usually associated with this Man City team in the first half of the game. But then I look at that quality on the bench, and I look at Mamouche, I look at Aït-Nouri, I look at Savinho, I look at Foden, I look at so many Reinders, I look at so much potential they have to change a game, and yet once again they're falling up short. Because I've spoke about this a number of times. What's going to win this title chase, what's going to win this Premier League is going to be depth. It's got nothing really to do in terms of the quality. There's quality on both sides in terms of for Man City and for Arsenal. But what's going to really be the decider is who can keep fit and who can utilise their squad. And right now, across the 35 games or 34 I've seen, I believe Arsenal have utilised their squad better, hence why I always say the table never lies. The
interesting thing as well is when you compare Arsenal and Manchester City this weekend, Arsenal played Fulham, they won 3-0, and then obviously what Manchester City have done today. It were quite similar opponents, weren't they? Fulham and Everton, mid-table teams, not completely on the beach. They still potentially could make it into Europe, but was unlikely. So I felt like it was fairly even going into these games. Arsenal showed up, particularly in the first half, scoring those 3 goals. And City didn't, did they? It
was so interesting. If you look at the first 45 minutes on both of those two teams, it really does showcase in terms of the control that Man City had at Everton and what they demonstrate in terms of possession, in terms of territory, in terms of chances created. That was a typical Man City performance that Pep would have probably clapped when he went in at half-time. Arsenal did exactly the same. The energy was high. The way they asserted themselves, implemented their game onto Fulham at the weekend, and I thought that was a great 45 minutes for them, especially from a confidence perspective. Now, look at the difference in the second half. I thought Arsenal controlled the dynamics in the second half against Fulham, minimised the opportunities in terms of from Fulham offensively.
Yeah, they shut it down,
and shut the game down, where they was able to take off Bukayo Saka, able to take off Declan Rice and manage that squad better. Man City showed no control in that second half. They were high lines, they was disjointed, there was no continuity in terms of what we had seen in the first 45 minutes, and it led to Everton growing into the game. That Ndiaye chance, I'm really happy that our producers were able to cut it and put it in, because it seemed like that was a turning point. All of a sudden it was, oh, we can actually get involved here. We can get involved in this game. And once you give a David Moyes team an opportunity, just a sniffle, just a chance in terms of opening that door, oh, they're going to kick it wide open. They're going to showcase a robust style and create chances in their way. And boy, did they utilise it.
I mean, City, you could say that I know they scored 3 goals today, but 2 of those came late on when they were chasing the game, lacking cutting edge. They only scored 1 goal against Burnley. And we have said in this second half of the season that ultimately Erling Haaland and his performances, his goals would decide the title race. If he keeps banging in 2-3 a game, then it's hard to see City being stopped. But I know he scored late on, but he doesn't really look like he's playing at the level that we were seeing a few weeks ago where he was scoring plenty of goals.
I'm always going to put Erling Haaland in the upper echelons of conversations around world number 9s. I've always said it. It's Kane, it's Mbappe and it's Haaland. And it doesn't really matter which preference you have in terms of those are the 3, those are the leading figures in world football. But what comes with that is responsibility. And it's not to try and quote Peter Parker on here. It's the truth of it, though. When you have that level of responsibility on your shoulders and you're required to show up every game, we see Harry Kane and what he's doing in the final stages of the Champions League and obviously delivering a domestic trophy. Kylian Mbappe, no doubt about it, he's going to want to do it on the international stage this summer. And regardless of what Real Madrid did, his individual performances were fantastic. Because of the standard that Erling Haaland has set for himself beyond Man City, I'm talking back from his Dortmund days all the way through, we expect it. We expect there to be a goal a game. And 2026 has probably been one of the roughest periods in his career. Now, that doesn't take away the brilliance that you saw towards the end, but I'm expecting, I'm talking about inhumane numbers that only are generational. A goal a game is a minimum. It's what I expect from him because it's what he's delivered. And unfortunately, we're not finding that consistency in form. I do believe that there's going to be a massive change because Kevin De Bruyne leaves your changing room, who he had an incredible connection with. It's going to be hard to kind of resemble that or replicate that in any which way. But it does rely, there's an onus still on you. You are the highest paid player on that team. You have signed a ridiculously long contract because you see yourself as arguably the franchise player. Well, you need to deliver franchise performances. And your team requires you in these final 5 games to really deliver. And this is one that was short.
We saw the standings there. Obviously, it's not mathematically, but do you feel like the title race is over? How close are we to it being decided?
Oh, Adam, are you
going to sleep easy as an Arsenal fan?
We're going to go back and forth again. It's going to happen. There's going to be ebbs and there's going to be flows. I've stayed consistent all year in saying that Arsenal would be crowned champions. I did also say that 85 points would probably be enough to see it out. If my maths is correct, 85 points in terms of winning those last 3 games do deliver Arsenal the title. So I look at it this way, and I will say it over and over again. Going to West Ham, only from North London to East London, and going to Crystal Palace, only from North London to South London, people will be sitting there saying, well, what does that matter? matter. It matters hugely when you're talking about at this stage of the season where everyone is mentally, physically and emotionally tired. Those extra days you get at home, not having to necessarily stay in a hotel for 1 or 2 days extra, trust me, it adds up at this point of the season. So that's going to be very favourable for Arsenal. Burnley, I'd expect that to almost be a write-off because Burnley are already down, change of manager. I thought Scott Parker did a great job, but, you know, changes was necessary at that club at that moment. But going forward, I cannot tell you how much this performance from Everton could have inspired Arsenal's last 5 games potentially to be a surge in terms of to complete the double.
Do you think both teams drop points between now and the end of the season, or do you see Arsenal winning out from now on?
I think both teams lose games. I don't think Arsenal drop points. And I'll give my context. I've never tipped Arsenal to win the Champions League because I do believe the 2 teams on the opposite side of the bracket are better. Do I tip Arsenal to make the Champions League final? I do. I expect them to handle their business tomorrow night at home to Atletico. However, I don't expect them to drop any more points in the league. 9 from 9. If I had given you this position, Adam, and if you're Mikel Arteta leading this changing room, and you say win your last 3 games, and you're not gonna play a team that's in the top half, there's no excuses.
And I've made that point on Scoreline a couple of times. Actually, even with all of the negativity swirling over the last few weeks when it looked like Arsenal were stumbling in the title race, if you'd offered them this at the start of the season, I'm not an Arsenal fan, but if we'd offered them this position at the start of the season, they would have bitten your hand off. You have to put yourself into the position to have it in your hands, potentially be able to win it. And they did that. So I think all of the negativity was a bit premature for my feeling.
Media noise, outside noise. Do I feel like it's infiltrated and impacted this team? I do. I think around the question marks, and we'll reflect on the season, no doubt about it, on this desk at some point. But the noise around set pieces, the noise around how robust or how attractive their style of football was, the noise around whether or not they were good enough, fluid enough, winning games in a typical Arsenal manner, or how champions should be. I tell you now, all of that noise goes out the window if you lift that trophy. And that is the only thing that really matters. At the end of the day, no one remembers any of the teams from yesteryears not playing attractive football or not playing the best style of football. I'm telling you, as someone who's lived through it and been in the media for this long, I can tell you they spoke about Leicester the same way, only winning 1-0. They spoke about that United team, the turn of the century, of only winning a league title by 70-odd points. I can remember yesteryears even before then, the Invincibles, and saying that they only had 12 draws. There is a narrative around every title. What's going to separate those that are crown champions and those that are forever looking on are those that can hide out the noise, ignore the noise and the chatter around them, and make sure they deliver. And Arsenal now have a golden opportunity to make sure they do that.
If Manchester City aren't able to do it, and at the moment it's looking like they aren't going to, will it be a case of they just left it too late? They did manage to improve their level. I mean, if you compare the Manchester City we're seeing now compared to the level we saw at the start of the season, obviously they have improved. They put themselves at least in the title race, but they just gave themselves too much of a mountain to climb late on in the season.
I'm only going to quote Pep Guardiola a number of times in different press conferences after disappointing results. He's quoted in saying the title was over. I truly believe that he is a little bit surprised that his team is still in contention, especially how close it was when you're talking about the beginning of this game week. So I believe that in his mind, he was always thinking a couple of domestic trophies and we can really still kick on next year because this is going to be a building block. In terms of the transitions for the players that's come in and come out of City over the last couple of seasons, they haven't done well in terms of recruitment in as much as the quality that's left that changing room and the experience of winners. But what they will recognise now, if you give them an opportunity to win, this is still a designated, one arguably the best manager in world football, and still have Phil Foden, who's won trophies in there, and a number of other players who have been in and around it, including Bernardo and all the rest of it. There's still enough quality and experience sprinkled in that changing room to recognise. But I think upon reflection, and we'll have this conversation in a few weeks, no doubt about it, City will be disappointed in their season. There's a number of opportunities they've had where they had chances like today. I think back automatically to that Spurs performance. Remember Dom Solanke scoring that double? Where they were completely in control. You're talking about a team that's contesting for relegation right now, contesting for their status in this league. Those are drop points. That's where you lose league titles. We wouldn't have circled the Man City defeat. If Arsenal don't win this title, we wouldn't have circled Man City away as the game in which they lost it. You would have circled Bournemouth the week before being at home and saying that was your opportunity to demonstrate that you deserve to be crowned champions. I just believe when it's all said and done, like I said, the league never lies. Over 38 games, you play each team once, home and away. The proof is in the pudding. There's a reason why Arsenal are leading right now. I don't think there's quality in terms of the league season has been fantastic. It's been riddled with a lot of mistakes, but it's been very, very entertaining.
Direct answer, yes or no. do Arsenal win the title?
Said the same thing since August. The second that they signed Eberiche Eze, that was enough of a good quality squad to win this title, and I believe that they will.
OK, I'll take that as a yes. Direct enough. Time for a short break here on the Scoreline. We've got plenty more coming up for you after this short break.
At the start of every year, I find myself wondering again, constantly questioning life's mysteries. Could I make it in the UFC octagon?
When Jeff Probst asks survivors, ready?
Do they ever want to say no? Has Dexter ever considered meditation? Will Beth and Rip make it last on the new series Dutton Ranch? If not, we're